There we go. I always like the Burton Church to hear our gong. Good morning and welcome to the Vashon Island Universalists, Unitarian Universalists, or Universalist Unitarians. My name is Mary DeMange, and I use she, her pronouns, and I will be your service leader today. If you're visiting, welcome. Please participate as you feel comfortable. You're invited to stay and introduce yourself in conversation following the service. So I had a really hard time getting to sleep last night, and so this morning I had a hard time waking up, and so my alarm went off. I kept hitting the snooze button, and every time I hit that snooze button, I fell right back to sleep. So I had like 4 or 5 little 9-minute dreams, and it was like shorts. It was so little like the Oscar shorts, only not nearly as interesting. But the last one, this woman she came up to me and she was really upset and really, she just kind of felt shamed. And she said to me, I swear this is the truth, she said to me in the dream, do you ever fall asleep at church? She was so worried about that. And I, as a lapsed Catholic, I said, sure, doesn't everybody? So, today is a special service. We are celebrating the GLBTQ plus community, and the theme is surviving with pride. When I was thinking about today's service, I remember the first gay pride parade I'd ever gone to, and it was in 1978. And I know hard to believe that I would be that old, but I graduated from college the year before, and my friend Alice said, let's go to the gay pride parade in San Francisco. And always up for an adventure with Alice, I said yes, and away we went. We were sitting on the grass watching, and all of a sudden Alice said, let's march in the parade. And I reluctantly did. We were 2 straight women at a gay pride parade, and all I knew was that I was in love with Alice, but I never told her that. I never told Rob either. Did I? No. All right. Our congregation is committed to individual freedom of belief, welcomes diversity, seeks to promote a sense of community, and fosters religion which enriches the spirit. We are a mostly lay-led community, strengthened and enriched by weaving together the volunteer contributions of members and friends. Our community is supported and guided by our minister, Reverend Victoria Pauling, but not for long, unfortunately. As we begin our service, please take a couple of breaths to become fully present. Relax and bring your attention into this moment of communal reflection and sharing. This is the land acknowledgement we use to acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Swabash Coast Salish Native people. The Puyallup people have lived on and stewarded these lands since the beginning of time and continue to do so today. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is one small step toward true allyship, and we commit to uplifting their voices, experiences, and histories of indigenous people of this land and beyond. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived here, you belong here. I'd like to invite Julie Shannon to come forward and light our chalice. Let's light our chalices together in person and online. Julie, I'll step.
I'll get all of our energy together. All of our energy can join this. We open to the light. We light this chalice with an open heart. We light this chalice with resolve. We light this chalice with tears still fresh on our cheeks. We light this chalice in hope, a tiny flame we nurture. We light this chalice with reverence for this place, for these people, for this time. We also light this chalice with our soul's longing to be who we are, to be who we will become, to be ourselves. We light this chalice in self-love, in giving love, in holy love. And since I'm going to be stepping out early, I just wanted to just tell you what a joy this community is, and that we can celebrate this, and all of us here together means the world to me, so thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Please rise I was thinking of riding my motorcycle, I think. Please rise and embody your spirit and joining in singing Spirit of Life, number 123, found in your gray hymnal. Song leaders want to step up here? Need a book?
Ready?
That was great. Roxy Hathaway will read our opening words.
Change that around. This is A Protest and a Party by Hannah Roberts Villeneuve. I hope I said her name right. People sometimes ask, is pride a protest or a party? And the answer is, of course, yes. And why not? Why not rejoice as we resist, dance as we demand change, celebrate as we create community that delights in all who we are? So bring all of that with you this morning. Bring your policy demands, bring your glitter, bring your Supreme Court broken heart, bring your rainbow socks, bring the emptiness that you feel for all our siblings gone too soon. Bring your Gloria Estefan remix. Bring your tender hope for change. Bring your most garish eyeshadow. Bring your spirit tattered and battered by a world that seems insistent on choosing fear and hate. Gather up all of these things and bring them here to a place where we don't have to shoulder these burdens or celebrate these joys alone. Come, let us worship together.
Urvashi Vaz was a legendary LGBTQ activist who died 3 years ago this month. At the March on Washington on April 25th, 1993, she said, "The gay rights movement is not a party. It's not a lifestyle. It is not a hairstyle. It is not a fad or a fringe or sickness. It's not about sin or salvation. The gay rights movement is an integral part of the American promise of freedom. I think a lot has changed since then, but maybe not everything. And when I was looking at this quote on Wikipedia, I realized it was there that day. I don't remember any of the speeches. I don't remember her. I don't remember any music, but I know I was there because my partner and I talked about going to the March on Washington, and we planned to do things. And I do definitely remember seeing the AIDS quilt. But one thing I do remember at that time, way back then, was I was a part of something really big. So I'd like to invite our community members, for our Serving with Pride service, Matt Burskin, Brooke Osmond, and Robbie Rohr. Matt, you want to come up and do the intro?
Hi. Thank you. Toned it down today. Oh, thank you. Good morning. My name is Matt Burskin, and my pronouns are they, them. Today's sermon is titled Surviving with Pride. The opening reading, A Protest or a Party, seemed a perfect match for our sermon today. Here are a few lines again. People sometimes ask if Pride is a protest or a party, and the answer is yes. And why not? Why not rejoice as we resist, dance as we demand change, celebrate as we create community that delights in all of who we are? These are difficult times. We need both halves of pride. Today, we will hear the words of people in our LGBTQ plus community and our allies, the LGBTQ plus community members who are facing increasing discrimination and acts of hatred. We've asked them to tell us in their own words what it's like to living in that reality. Under the huge umbrella of the LGBTQ plus and our allies, we strive to survive with pride. I'd like to, Rory?
It's fine. Hi, I'm Robbie. I came out as a lesbian when I was 44 years old, working in a nonprofit organization that had 3 other GLBT people in the administration. It normalized the identity of someone who considered herself lesbian. I fit there better than I did as a straight woman, and relatively easily I shed the straight person expectations held by me and by society. I also remember going to my first, maybe not my first, but my first Pride parade when I was out after that, and marveling at the exuberant diversity and the sense of well-being of the people around me. They were in community and they were safe. Quite a contrast to what is happening these days. I'm gonna, when we put this together, we did kind of do the pride and the protest thing, because there's some parts of this that are very serious and depressing, as the world is. And there's some parts of this that are really celebratory and thankful for who we are and what's happening. So you get both of those today. So you all know about Project 2025, and probably if you're like me, when you first heard about that, I was like, oh shit, that's not all going to happen. That's like way out there. That's not something that's going to happen. But a lot of it has happened, and it's happened really fast. So a few of the executive orders, which our president has chosen to abuse, have come through changing laws and also emboldening hateful actions and words. Although targeting many vulnerable groups, ACLU calls it targeting and terrorizing transgender America and denying them their humanity. So there have been executive orders limiting health care and access to care for trans, non-binary, and intersex people, bans on trans people serving in the military, passports which must reflect gender at birth. There's been voting rights restrictions, which also require that piece where who you say you are as a voter is who you were when you were born and given a gender. Non-discrimination protections in the workplace are being eroded incredibly. And the educational department, the Department of Education itself is being gutted. And there's all kinds of restrictions now on what people can teach and even on scholarship. So it's a scary, not great world out there. In preparation for this service, I talked to several lesbian women. And I wanted to make sure that they were women that I spoke with, and I wanted to make sure that they were younger than me, because our age group is not being hit nearly as hard as younger groups are. So one of these people works with children and teens in the school through Dove. In my opening, I talked about finding a truer identity, and what she told me about her work with elementary students just made me really hopeful. So this is what she talked about. She said, she works with the Teen Council, which actually does comprehensive sexuality education from kindergarten through 10th grade. And she told me about working with 6-year-olds, but I want you to do this. I want you to imagine being 5 years old, or maybe 6, and being able to have people ask you, who do you feel like today? What do you feel like? And being in a place where you can practice and you can experiment, and you don't have to know for sure, and you don't have to feel like you're completely restricted by someone saying, you're a girl, you're a boy, here's what your future might look like in terms of your, who you partner with or who you make love with. I just thought that was amazing. She said, why shouldn't people be able to say, why couldn't I be whatever that might be? Opening the range of who and how one can be, creating a more accepting and respectful environment, encouraging being responsible and compassionate. That's what the Teen Council really is about, which is kind of amazing. And it's one of a limited number in the country, and there's actually Washington stands out big time for having that. That represents so much progress since I was 5 or 6 or 7. And when talking about older youth, she talked about the impact of confusion and chaos. Some people, are pretty oblivious to it, but most people feel the increased stress and worry of their families and kind of just of what's going on around. High schoolers aren't sure where they stand anymore. Will they be studying and will studying and education really get them what they think they want in life? Maybe. Could my family even afford college if I wanted to go? And can I travel if I can't get a passport that identifies who I am now? What goals can I set for myself? She works in a field that is constantly widening, expanding horizons, adding knowledge, developing new terms, much of which is on the periphery of many of our daily worlds. And when I asked her specifically, here's who I'm going to be talking to, what would you say to them? This is what she said. Don't just be open, be proactive. Always remember that learning is lifelong, and you can't know without trying to learn. Mistakes are awesome. You learn something new. Be willing to be wrong and have grace for that and for yourselves. That's how we're going to move ahead. So she's working with our young people. That gives me a lot of hope. I also spoke with the young adult daughter of a friend who grew up in Seattle but is now living in Harlem, working as a therapist, mostly with GLBTQ plus youth. She's white, Jewish, lesbian, and grew up with a very politically active mother. So there was much wisdom in what she said. And also she acknowledges that not everyone has had the advantages that she has had in her life. She says, I grew up in an era where youth lived with the expectation of moving forward, of expanding options, of progress in social issues, like rescinding the don't ask, don't tell policy and recognizing systemic racism. As a society, we're going backwards. But we fought all of these fights before. There's only so far we can go back. She then amended with the words, at least theoretically. It's a hard time to disentangle our thinking of the present, she said, to keep perspective and face such an uncertain future. The future seems really hard for everyone, but particularly for people who are gay or trans. But given what they have been up against in their experiences, listen to this, they actually have more practice in imagining a better future. It's almost an asset. They carry an expansive notion of what the future could look like, kind of a resolve not to be hopeless. It's really not an option to give up. She said, friends of mine from Seattle are in a trans punk band and we're touring with a stop in New York City. On a huge banner behind them was the phrase, "They can't kill us all if we're standing together." She said, people have to be active. That's how we'll get through. But they're often just ground down, trying to pay the bills and get through the day. Most people won't be active. Their response may be that this is just the next thing to adjust to. And you can't convince them to care if they don't. This is really good. The human brain has not developed to live in such a globalized world. The human brain has not developed to live in such a globalized world. We're not super programmed to go out of their way, to go out of the way to help. Society needs to get to the point that people understand that because you are not doing things to help, harm is going to come to people. She said, we need to create a world where it's easy to do the right thing. And, as she said, whoever is willing to push back, to act, needs to do as much as they can. She was really amazing. I was just like, I kept thinking, oh my God, to have a daughter that you've brought up to be that is pretty amazing. And I heard in her voice lots of times a resistance. Because, one thing she also said, I asked her at one point if she wasn't frustrated by, she had just been out polling on trans rights, and people were like, no, I don't have time to talk with you, and she was pretty sympathetic. She said, they really just don't have the energy, to do one more thing. It just doesn't, they just don't have it. And I said, do you think they're entitled? And she said, no, it's just that they don't have the energy. And then she said, I get resentful. What did she say? She said, I have to fight to not be resentful sometimes. She said, I just don't have time for that. Which is pretty amazing. So we are very fortunate here on Vashon to be in a place that seems like a lot of people do care and are willing to act. And there are many great resources to help as we push forward, sometimes needing ideas, inspiration, a safe and trusted community. So I'm just going to name a few of those for you, and you know them probably, but it's just a little reiteration. Not on Our Island is a really incredible group that works against hate, against the expression of hate, and about creating an environment that really kind of bears out the values that we say we want to have. Vashon Youth and Family Services is doing amazing stuff. Dove is doing amazing stuff. I think our community council is actually doing a lot of stuff to try and preserve an atmosphere. They've spent a lot of time talking about having to acknowledge systemic racism and some of those pieces. There's an organization called Journeyman that we heard a speaker from, and they have an expanded project called Our Village. That is, when I asked someone if it was really a Pride-related organization, he said, well, and Brooke has also said but he said that the original group teaches the sacredness of masculinity. So, and now there's groups working with women. So that's a really good start. Orbit here on Island, which is part of Open Space, has done great things, opening opportunities for people who are with GLBTQ+. There's an organization within the school called Gender Sexuality Alliance, and their teen council is pretty amazing. And then on a bigger sphere, just a couple more. PFLAG, as many of you know, which supports parents who are frequently allies. And then when I was looking up information on the executive orders and where to stay current on that, I found that the Human Rights Campaign is incredibly good at that, and ACLU. So that's my part, and I'm going to turn it back over to Matt.
Thank you, Robbie. Well, before the election was settled, I stood on the Vashon Four Corners for 60 days to support Kamala Harris with banners, signs, and standout costumes. I made my presence known. Most people waved and honked in support, while a few flipped me off and yelled profanities. Despite the mixed reaction, I felt that Kamala Harris winning the election was crucial to our country and thought that her losing was devastating. I didn't know what the outcome would be, but I was determined to do everything I could to prevent the Republicans, or that portion of the Republicans, from winning the White House again. This just couldn't happen again. It was not an option. I told people that my standing out there was my version of a Kamala Harris sign in my yard, because no one would be able to see the sign where I live at the end of a road, at the end of the island. And so I stood there, and I felt that that's what I could do at the time. I had time to do that. Due to the likely post-election drama, I arranged to be away in Canada for 6 months, and I left before the election was decided. I was so emotional about it, and I just needed to be somewhere else. Either way, there was going to be a lot of drama, I felt, and if the election went wrong, I would try to immigrate there, because I wouldn't really feel safe, and this has come true to me. This is not the way I envision our country, and the things that are happening are devastating. When the president was elected for the second time, I felt an overwhelming surge of grief and fear, not only for the future of our nation, but also for the safety and dignity of our LGBTQ plus community. Those fears deepened into a dread and fear that the hard-won rights we cherished were suddenly under threat. At the heart of these developments lies the ominous Project 2025. This blueprint for transformation seems intent on reshaping the United States into a regime that carries all the hallmarks of totalitarianism, and the deliberate nature of this undertaking, paired with policies that erode democratic ideals and minority protections, strikes me as a direct assault on the very fabric of the society that we value diversity and freedom. Today, in the act of personal preservation, and for the last few months, I've chosen to shut down the connection to the daily news. I stepped away from mass media. I shut down Facebook, my Facebook account. By disengaging, I was able to carve out a space where I can rebuild my strength and regain my focus on the value of compassion, equity, and justice that are so integral to my identity and my community. I look at what is happening to this country with incredible sorrow. I stand firm on my resolve to protect both my mental well-being and my personal belief system. This deliberate withdrawal is not a sign of defeat, but rather a conscious act of self-preservation. I've embraced the more grounded and mindful way of staying connected with the world around me. I've joined the Vashon Island Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, and yay, and found that the sense of calm fostered during the services is both healing and restorative. These gatherings remind me that comfort and support can be found in community, where listening to the everyday truths of others provides a balanced human perspective amid these troubled times. And thank you so much. And I'd like to invite my new friend Jack up. He has a story of his own. Nope, thank you.
Oh, it's snap.
There we go. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Jack. I use he, him pronouns, and I am really, really bad at public speaking, so.
We'll see about that.
All right. I grew up in Wisconsin, surrounded by cows and snow and paper factories. I was a really angry, sad child, and I was always afraid and always confused and always trying to figure out who I was and where I fit in. When I met my best friend and future husband, who could not make it today, but he's here in spirit. Hi, honey, love you. When I met him, everything changed for me. And when I felt unconditional love for the first time, and when I could finally be present and let the mask fall, I changed. And for the longest time, it felt like it was just him and I against the world. Coming to this island and finding this amazing community was one of the biggest surprises of my life. I never in my wildest dreams could expect to find a place where I felt so safe and so valued. For someone who didn't expect to make it past 16, I can't believe I've been blessed enough to be here. But this world isn't perfect, and times are scary, and it feels like everything is moving backwards. There's a lot of focus on the pain and the suffering of the trans community, and that's something that I'm not going to dismiss, and it will not be. But I feel like it's my purpose in life to expand on that narrative, and I want to talk about trans joy. Because being trans is not just about hating yourself. It is an enduring act of optimism and survival, and of choosing to live your life as your most authentic self every day. Even if it's hard, even if it's scary. Because I've lost my mother, my friends, financial security, job opportunities, my safety. But what I've gained means so much more. I've gained the kind of self-acceptance and clarity that can only come from facing your true inner being with compassion and honesty and embracing it wholeheartedly. There's something so profoundly powerful about looking in the mirror and realizing for the first time that you're smiling at your reflection. That you have life in your eyes. That the rich inner life you lead is what everybody else can finally see. Yourself in perfect alignment, in honesty, and in full clarity. And what a gift it is to be able to give that to yourself. I refuse to go back to being that sad, scared kid. The only thing fascism needs to win is hopelessness, and I won't make myself small or invisible to placate people who are only motivated by hate and fear. I exist. This beautiful life I have is mine to do with what I choose. And I choose to love myself, and I choose to love my husband, my community, and I choose to love this world. I choose joy. Thank you.
Feels really good to be here today and to see everyone here. I grew up a queer kid in the Deep South. I could stand up here for the next hour and a half and talk to you about the horrific things that I've seen and the things that people have done to me and to people like me. But one of the things that I realized as I was growing up was how much empathy and care I had for the people who were doing those things. Because looking at them, it's clear that these bullies, when they're kids, they're afraid. They're coming up into a world that has no space for any of us. They're coming up into a world that has had communities broken apart and fractured by structural forces. And there is no space for us to grow and find joy. And when you're afraid, you lash out. And you hurt those who are different. And you try to find a way to build community by shoving everyone else out around you. But what I realized when I grew up was that that's not the only option. Because when I came out as queer, I found a community who was willing to accept me for who I was, and who was interested in building resources for ourselves. In the wake of these executive orders that have been going on, and in the wake of the political turmoil that our country has been facing, I've had trans friends on the mainland coming out to talk to me about setting up community farming resources so that we can build a food bank, so that queer people will not starve as things start to get bad. I've had friends who are in an organization called Queer Scouts Seattle, which is an adult skill sharing and community building organization designed to make sure that we all know how to take care of each other. Everything from how to darn a sock, to how to change the oil in your car, to how to build a tent and survive in the woods. The things that a lot of kids grew up learning in these organized communities that pushed out a lot of queer kids. And these efforts are what bring me joy and inspiration this Pride Month, because that, to me, is what Pride is all about. It's about building community. Fascism wins when the communities get broken up and when they can convince kids to be hopeless, because hopeless kids grow up to be fascists. We need to be building communities. We need to be creating spaces to give kids and to give ourselves and the children in our hearts hope. Without that hope, we won't survive. Without each other, we won't survive. Happy Pride.
I want to just have us take a moment to kind of reflect on what we just heard. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Matt. And thank you, Robbie. Joys and concerns. We will now pause the recording. Well, I was so moved by everybody's reflections that I forgot a hymn that we should sing, because it's pretty good. So it's hymn number 95, There is a Love Somewhere, and it's in the gray hymnal. Somewhere there is more love. Somewhere I'll keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is So we will now resume recording as we finish the service. As members and friends of the Vashon Unitarian Universalists, we commit to supporting our congregation. Financial resources help us pay speakers and staff, support our social justice programs, and maintain our building. Please support VIUU with your pledges and offerings so that we can continue to build a vital community. Our congregation engages beyond our walls for peace, social and economic justice, freedom of belief, and protection of our planet and its inhabitants. Once a month, we contribute our financial offering to an organization that aligns with our values. But this week's offering supports our beloved community. Will the greeters come up and pass around the baskets? Are there baskets? There's no baskets? Oh. Oh, okay. I thought you were going to have to put it in your pocket.
You did say it was supporting the community. You weren't specific about what part.
Which community? Give thanks to this precious day. We're all gathered here, far away. For this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Precious day, we're all gathered here, far away. For this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Brooke is going to give our final reading.
This is a quote from Bell Hooks. Dominator culture has tried to keep us all afraid, to make us choose safety instead of risks, sameness instead of diversity. Moving through that fear, finding out what connects us, reveling in our differences. This is the process that brings us closer, that gives us a world of shared values, of meaningful community.
Jessica will extinguish our chalice.
When we extinguish the chalice, we remember that while our little candle goes out, the fire within us carries on into our lives for the week to come. So here is a little thought to carry that fire within us. It's called, May We Live the Spirit of Pride. With gratitude for the freedom to be our true, authentic selves, may we live in the spirit of pride. With courage that comes from challenging fear, may we live in the spirit of pride. With sorrow for those who could not be with us here today, and in honor of those who died of AIDS and lost their lives, may we live in the spirit of pride. With grief for those whose pain was unbearable and left us too soon, may we live in the spirit of pride. Looking ahead to the justice still withheld, may we live in the spirit of pride, with confidence that a sense of community banishes isolation and loneliness. may we live in the spirit of pride. With the rainbow flag flying high and a sense of beloved community among us, and the joy that comes from making new connections. May we live in the spirit of pride. Woo!
Get ready.
No, wait, are we gonna do
We're going to sing?
that for the song?
What song? Oh, yes.
So this is,
Yes, you're right.
1053 in the Blue Hymnal. And this is a song, if you've
Here
ever
it is,
been
here it
to
is,
the
here it
youth
is.
cons, any of the youth cons, the kids sit together and they sing this song, and there's this upwelling of beautiful three-part harmony. It's a song about being who you are and about
I don't have that.
just being connected with everyone else around you. So
10:53.
please sing harmony if you can do it. How can
Anyone tell you I'm but beautiful? Could anyone ever tell you? Ask and all. Could anyone tell you? How could it be?
How can anyone ever tell you anything less than beautiful? How can anyone ever tell you you're less than whole? How can anyone fail to notice that your love is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How deeply you're connected to my soul.
God, it's such a beautiful song. Okay. It says to do this now, but it doesn't seem right. So, thank you to Brooke, Matt, Robbie, and Jack for the sermon, for your words and reflections. It was so lovely. To Julie, Roxy, Jessica, and Brooke for our chalice lighting and extinguishing and readings. Our music from Mark Wells was fabulous. Thank you. We called him at 3:30 in the morning last night, and yeah, he didn't have a chance to comb his hair, so that's why he's here.
Hey, I did!
Thank you to Catherine for tech, and most of all of you for participating in today's service at Lewis Hall and online. Please join us for refreshments following our VIUU events announcements. Now, I get a little rigid about this one too. If you have an announcement to share related to a VIUU activity, right? VIUU activity, please come up and form a line along the side of the sanctuary. Now.
I appreciate your rigidity. It makes the thing move smoother.
Hi. I'll just talk. My name is Tish, and I've been with you for a little over a year, and Mark and I are now members, and yay, yeah. And so I raised my hand about Seebeck, and here I am. I've never been there. I don't know where it is. I don't know which river it's on, but I've seen pictures, and it's in August, and we're going camping. So it's August 15th to the 17th. You're all invited to come. And I have a sign-up sheet here, and you can pick your bedroom and where you want to stay and in which house and all of that. And then once you do that, and it's gorgeous there, then we ask for a deposit of $100, which Kirk would be happy to take to hold your spot. So next week is our last meeting. So we just wanted to remind everybody, I've got the list here, and there's lots of activities that we're putting together for that time when we're together and having fun. And remember, we won't be meeting here, so it's a chance to be together. And if, matter of fact, if some of those activities you'd like to be the teacher on or facilitate, we'd love that too. Thank you.
Well, I brought my name is Tanya. I brought materials to make signs, protest signs for June 14th. No kings! So we'll put up a table or two and bring out the materials. Please join me.
Hi, folks. My name's Catherine. I'm here to talk about next Sunday. As alluded to, next Sunday is our last Sunday for this service year. Wah, wah, wah. But we're going to end on a high note. It's Many Blossoms, One Garden, which is what we are. So everyone is invited to bring a flower or 2 flowers or 3, whatever your heart content is. Yeah, so take one with you and then bring a different one next Sunday. So next Sunday, our flower friends are putting on the show, and I appreciate those that are doing that. It's also Reverend Victoria's last Sunday with us officially, so she'll be here to help go out on a bang. So hope to see you next Sunday. And then I'm also the talking head for the Social and Environmental Justice Group. We are busy, and we are inviting you to help participate. Tuesday, June 10th, we're having a documentary screening panel discussion with Showing Up for Racial Justice Vashon folks. It's 6 p.m. Tuesday, June 10th, racially charged or misdemeanor problem with our world, and it's a big one, or our country. So you're invited to come to that. And then on Vashon Theater, Tuesday, June 10th, 6 p.m., we've got flyers. It's in the newsletter. It's in Vashon Events. All the hip kids will be there. Thursday, June 19th, Juneteenth, VIUU is once again sponsoring the Vashon Juneteenth celebration. And so everyone's invited to attend that. And they also need volunteers. So if you got lots of time and energy and you want to help out extra, there's an email address you can sign up to, and that's in the newsletter. So check out the newsletter. I'm almost done. I'm sorry, folks. I'm ready to be done. After our Juneteenth, we're doing another summer movie series. It was so popular last year that we're bringing it back again. This time it's First Nations stories. So we're going to be showing 3 different movies here at Lewis Hall, July 13th, July 27th, and August 10th. So while Sunday services aren't happening and before Seebeck, you can come get your movie fix in. So thanks so much.
So as Catherine said, next Sunday is Reverend Victoria's last Sunday, but on Wednesday, June 25th at 5:30, there'll be a potluck at my place and to honor her, and we'll have some music, we'll have food, and you can come and talk, and we'll have a good time. Sending her out, yeah, a potluck.
What time? 5:30.
I
just want to throw out a suggestion. So yesterday, Mary and I and Sheila and about another 4 people from Vashon were at the detention center, and it was a good rally. It reminded me of how lonely it is to be in there. They tried to reconnect one of the people, and the connection kept cutting off. They said it was probably intentional. I mean, it was obnoxious. So when I was in college, I was part of a visiting group to a prison. And we went in once a week, and, you know, we just talked to folks, and it was great for them, and it was eye-opening for us. And I know that there's at least a Catholic priest that goes in every week and does a Sunday service, or I think it's every week. So the thought occurred to me, what if we were part of a group that tried to have a service, a Sunday service occasionally there, and as you use. Because, you know, having contact with somebody from the outside world is amazing. There's people there who've been there for years. There's a lot of people who've been there for at least 100 days, and they're not even getting outside. So any kind of contact that they could have with people, and particularly if it was a spiritual piece that wasn't particularly, you know, any particular religion that people could come to. I don't know that they'd let us in. I think they might let us in if we had a minister. I'm sure.
I am a minister.
Well, that is true. I know, it's true. It is true. She's going to preside at her our niece's wedding, and she is a minister. So we could try that.
We should try that. I even have like a little card.
That will do it, I think. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so that's the thought, and I would suggest that anybody who's interested in that, just send an email to me that says I'm interested. And if there's enough people who might like to do that, then we'll see if it's feasible. Even if we only did 2 or 3 or 1, that would be great. So.
I just want to say that my surgery has been moved from tomorrow to the 16th of June. And I thank people that signed up for the meal train. And if I've done the math correctly, the 24th will be a good time to start the meal train again. And I appreciate all of that. But yeah, I have to wait another couple weeks. But we will. What are you going to do? You know. Thank you.
Am I allowed 2?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, it depends.
You're going to cut me off in the middle?
Are they related to VIUU?
Yes.
Okay.
It's once again, I say, as a member of the UUs for over 40 years now, thank you, I want you all to know that this morning when I woke up and the news came on, the, what do they call it? The Northern Lights were there in our backyard. And they will be perhaps again tonight, except you have to stay up till midnight, and tomorrow night. And if it weren't for those Northern Lights in Port Townsend, that's when I would have been rooming with a lady in Port Townsend, not on Vashon.
I'm Ted, and this is very definitely related to Vashon, to the VIUUs. I want you to notice that our Major Domo today said everybody had to line up over there and come this way, and it happened.
Thanks, Ted. Almost everybody.
Okay, I think I forgot to say my name's Gay. Last time I came up here, and just a reminder that the retreat for the Sunday Service Committee is it's different than the CBEC retreat, but the Sunday Service Committee retreat is the 12th of June, so coming up. Yeah. The other thing I just wanted to say when you were talking about social justice, the social justice and environmental committee. Super great stuff happening. And there's a young woman who I met through a friend whose husband is incarcerated, and she's been doing amazing things. She's trying to. I know this is kind of, well, it's related. So so the folks on the Social Justice Committee have been really excited about having her come speak next year, and they have an organization that she and her husband, who's in prison, and herself, and it's called Ethical Justice. And she also is. She said, "Get me on the books for a service. I'd love to do it." And it's about what their work is, and she's really, anyway. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So let's sing ourselves. Is this sing ourselves? Pencils? Oh, it's birthday time. Who has a birthday?